Alrighty guys, what's up? My name is Jeremy. Welcome to The Verge. Today's guest, we have Isaiah Wehrmann.
Yep.
So today, this is again going to be a pilot episode for this new podcast. And so we're sitting down having just casual conversations with other creators, people that are in the media industry, photographers, videographers, general people that are putting content out into the world for other people to benefit from. So, Isaiah, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
So, real quick, I'm going to pull up my notes here again. Everybody watching at home, you're going to have to bear with me. We wanted to kind of have this scripted, but not scripted to where it was all over the place. So, we're just going to go over some of the questions I have written down. And we'll just talk a little bit about what you have going on in your life real quick. So before we get into all the deep stuff, though, do you have any weird stories or, like, what would you say the weirdest thing you've ever had to edit out of or crop out of an image?
The weirdest thing, I haven't had a whole lot of weird stuff. But I had one client that I was doing editing for like a series of videos, and he put his own logo on it. And after editing all of it, it was baked in.
So he put his logo.
He put his logo. Well, he put his logo on his video that he recorded. He was doing like a conversation with someone,
Gotcha.
And decided he didn't like it after filming it, and told me after I finished and exported the whole thing. So I had to re-edit all of it and take out his logo out of the corner. And the problem is it wasn't photos at all. It was all video. So I had to go in and mask and then follow it through a whole like 20, 30 minute conversation multiple times because it was for multiple videos.
Gotcha.
And then all of that, after it was said and done, he decided he actually did like it. And then it wasn't.
Just adding a lot of more work to your plate.
Yeah.
Basically.
And he was the guy who made me update my, I will do this. I won't do this. I'll do this if you pay me more money, sort of thing.
I mean, I think that's the way it is with any job. You're always going to run into that one person that's going to add more work to your plate, and you're going to have to go. Yeah, you're going to have to go back and readjust your workflow basically to conform and do all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. So. Well, that's a pretty chaotic first start.
Yep. And I could go on for days stories with this client too. There's other things.
So, let's just start back from the beginning. What got your start into photography, videography, and other content production?
It was skateboarding, solely skateboarding. Yeah. I started skateboarding, then my cousin started skateboarding, and then we just sort of started learning tricks. And as soon as we started learning tricks, we wanted to record all of it. So it was pictures and videos almost every day of us going around the neighborhood, jumping off of stuff, hurting ourselves, and hopefully getting it on camera. And, lots of times it did not look good at first.
I know how that is.
It's like, why is it all blurry? Oh, okay. And learn about shutter speed and then ISO and all of that stuff. So I learned all of it through just my time skateboarding. Yeah.
I think that's where me and you actually have kind of like similar backgrounds, is because when I was probably, you're what, 21, 22?
I'm 24 now.
24, wow.
Yeah.
So probably like even before that, like we kind of had the same background, skateboarding, just not necessarily, I wasn't really big into like putting out like videos and stuff like that. But I was more like so focused on skateboarding and that whole aspect. I did have other people film me, and
it's a big part of skateboarding.
Yeah.
The media is all about skateboarding.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
Because like you're going to do a trick, you want to show people.
Yeah.
So it was from the very beginning, people were filming each other and taking pictures and stuff. So
yeah. And
kind of forces you to do it.
Like the conversation we were having earlier, the technology and everything that's at people's fingertips nowadays wasn't available to people like us back in like early 90s or late 80s. So,
or for me, it was like early 2000s.
Yeah. I'm kind of dating myself there. So, yeah. So, let's see. Now, you kind of went over your start into photography and all that other stuff. Did you start shooting photos or videos on like an actual camera, or was it like an iPhone, or what piqued your interest into the whole aspect of photography or video?
So when I was young, I don't remember when I got it, but I had a little like Samsung point and shoot. Made a bunch of videos and photos and stuff like that with it, and I sort of learned how to use it with that. And then, I mean, back then, iPhones and iPods and stuff didn't have great cameras or anything. I didn't see it as usable. So I had that, and then I had a little GoPro. It's like the Hero 2 or Hero 3.
I think the GoPro is everybody's staple to get into like shooting content.
Yeah, it was not a good GoPro either. It was I bought it off of Facebook Marketplace, I think, or got it used. So it was very used.
Well, I mean,
it was beat up. So
the fact that you're, taking the initiative to get your foot in the door and finding ways to create content.
I don't regret buying it at all. It was just like looking back on it, I was like, I thought that was good. I mean, I don't regret it, but at the same time, I would not show anybody it at all.
I get that.
Hopefully forget about those.
Yeah. I think everybody who is shooting photos or videos, they all have their moments where they just want those specific pieces to just be buried away in a vault somewhere.
Yeah. And on top of that, I started skateboarding. So I thought my tricks were good back then. And now I'm looking at it, it's like, wow, I looked like a twig just so stiff trying to do a trick. I thought it looked cool because I finally landed a kickflip.
Yeah. I get that. No. So, let's talk gear. So you've been shooting photos or videos. How long would you say now?
Like when I really got into it and consistently and haven't stopped since I was probably like 16. So I'm 24 now, so a very long time.
Okay. So what'd you start on, like when you went from that like kind of like hobbyist level to taking it more seriously?
When I started my YouTube channel, my first YouTube channel was when I started making stuff pretty much every day and never stopped. And that was with the GoPro, and it was when I got a Nikon. It was like a D500 or something like that. Okay. And I had like a 16 to 25 or 16 to 35 lens. And that's all I used for a solid few years until I upgraded to a Canon. And I think that was like in 2020 when I finally got a Canon and like had a camera that could make good images,
Yeah.
And then I've been with Canon ever since. No. So I think
Canon. the Canon platform is everybody's staple. I mean, I don't see a lot of people getting into the photography or video side with Nikon, just because I think the earlier models for like DSLRs specifically, they weren't really catered to video.
It was all photos.
Yeah, it was all photos,
which they were not bad.
So I think everybody that got into the hybrid aspect of shooting both photos and videos went towards Canon because, one, they had a plethora of lenses available for EF mounts, and then two, the price point to be able to afford to get something, they had a pretty decent budget at the time. Now, everything being mirrorless, I think it transitions into giving people the option of, do you want something cheap and inexpensive that will give you a good solid foundation of a starting point? Or do you want to make a bigger investment into something where you don't know if you're going to stick with it?
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the biggest deciding factors of people who are getting into videography or photos, is trying to decide, do you start from the earlier stages going DSLR route, or do you just skip all that, jump straight to mirrorless? Because granted, like, the technology is obviously better. Size, form factor, all that other stuff. And again, technology advancements, the sensor quality of, all the stuff they're putting in these mirrorless cameras is night and day.
Oh yeah, especially for video.
Yeah, DSLRs.
Yeah, I would always say, every time someone asks me what to get, I say, get a DSLR. And when you start realizing that it's limiting you and how it's limiting you, that's when you should upgrade to something expensive, because you know what you're looking for to get. Because whenever I was looking for my first mirrorless camera, I had a DSLR and I was like, I really want to color grade. I want to learn how to color grade. I was doing it a little bit, and I was noticing that my image was falling apart really, really quickly. And that's when I started learning about bit depth and what cameras can have, like the bit depth and log profiles and everything. Gotcha. And so when I was looking into mirrorless, I was like, it was Sony, it was Canon, and I think that was it. I was looking at one of those to upgrade to, because I didn't have a whole lot of lenses. I didn't build up my collection yet.
And this was when you were on the Canon platform?
Yeah, so I had a Canon DSLR and like a lens or two. And I was like, okay, so I can start fresh, pick do all the research on both the brands, see which one works the best and everything. And also I had a really tight budget, so I didn't want to spend a whole lot of money. So I looked at the Canon R8, which was out, I think, for a year or two at that point. And I saw it, I had 4K 60, and a big thing for me was 4K 60 without a crop.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And because I was doing like sports and stuff, I wanted to get it good quality, and I also wanted to slow-mo some stuff. So I wanted to be able to film things and not have it limit me in that way.
Yeah.
So I was looking at the Sony A7C and C2, and then the Canon R8. And the price difference was leaning towards the Canon R8. And then the Canon R8 also didn't have a crop on 4K 60. So I was like, well, that's a clear winner, because log profile, 4K 60, and then 10-bit color. Yeah. And then I did a whole lot of color grading with it. That was the camera I learned color grading on.
So that basically kind of answers my next question of what your go-to kit kind of is right now.
Oh, yeah.
So you're right now you're doing all your production and photo stuff on the Canon R8.
Yes, I'm doing all of that on there, and this is another point where I'm hitting a wall where it's like, this is kind of limiting me, because it doesn't have the best battery life, and it also can't handle a lot of filming 4K 60 because it'll overheat kind of quickly.
Okay.
So like I'm dealing with it. It works just fine. It's just I'm getting gigs where like I'm filming football games. People are asking me to do weddings.
You're getting
and stuff
that's more demanding.
Yeah, more demanding and more important.
Yeah.
So the Canon R8 also only has one SD card slot. So I'm really scared to accept these kinds of things.
Yeah.
When, everyone says, oh, this SD card just kills itself every now and then.
And I've shot several events, weddings, quinceañeras, just other general, even like some conferences where I was shooting on a camera body that had a single SD card. I had a pocket full of SD cards because I think then I was shooting on 64 gigs. So in an entire 4 to 5 hour event, I was going through at least 3 SD cards for footage wise, just swapping them out. So yeah, dual SD cards would probably be a good deciding factor, especially if you're doing like events. Yeah.
And I was looking at the R6 too, to replace it, but then I was like, it's the exact same sensor. I feel bad spending money and getting the same thing,
And that's another thing that I was trying to explain to somebody the other day, and I know me and you had that conversation, was especially with like Sony cameras. I'm shooting video on Sony platform, but a lot of the Sony bodies, they're not putting out enough new cameras. Somebody put out a video. I think it was somebody that hangs out with Peter McKinnon, actually. I think he said they're basically taking the bodies and they're putting the same guts of these bodies inside different cameras.
Yeah.
And they're adding little minuscule components that change them, but they're basically the same internals, same sensor. You're just adding more, megapixels or whatever like that.
What was it? The 6700, A6700? It's like the same exact sensor as the FX3.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, that just goes to show you.
You can, it's great if you don't have a good budget and you can get a super cheap camera and just focus on lenses.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what are they sacrificing to make it that cheap?
Yeah. And I was actually shooting on the Canon platform for many years. I started off on the 60D. And then I went to the 6D Mark II, ended up upgrading to the 5D Mark II. Had a couple of those, went to the 5D Mark III, switched camera platforms to Sony, and I jumped. That was like the mirrorless side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And I started on the A6300, switched to full frame because the 6300 was crop sensor.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the A7 II. And then at some point I picked up the Sony A7R2 before getting rid of that camera, switching back to the Canon platform when I was shooting on the C100 cinema camera.
Mm-hmm. What was the difference between the A7 II and the R2?
So the A7 II and the A7 R2, the body size is exactly the same. They're both full frame. The A7 II was a 24.4 megapixel sensor, where the A7 R2 is a 42.3 or something like that. Okay. So the megapixel ratio is better.
So better for photos and stuff.
Yeah. So the internals, everything like functions, menu system, everything is exactly the same. It's just higher megapixel count. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So, what was going to be my next question?
That's a good question.
Let's see. Let me go through my notes real quick. So, in your day-to-day kit right now, what is some of like your go-to pieces that you got to have this, like something you're always going to go to use? Yeah.
So what I use every time, no matter what, it depends lighting wise. If I'm taking photos, I'll always bring a speed light with some way to diffuse it.
And you just actually got into off-camera flash recently, didn't you?
Yeah. So I used a constant light for the longest time. Because I also do video. So I wanted to buy something that would work for both until I could afford both of them. And then just now got a speed light and everything to connect it to the softbox and everything. And it's very nice having both. Say that right away.
Yeah.
Only having one kind of sucks because they're both very limiting in the exact opposite. Because like a constant light is not going to be able to lighten anything up as much as a speed light would do.
Yeah.
Or
constant lights are good for video production and adding value to like a scene if you're shooting photos without a flash.
It's also great if you're doing a photo like you have multiple lights because if you have a bunch of flashes, that's a lot to take account for.
Yeah.
So I like to set up my constant lights to do the creative stuff, like a shape in the background or like lighting up one thing specifically and then throwing in the speed light.
Yeah, adding separation to the
like an accent to the speed light, which I've been playing around with a lot recently since I got the speed light. Now I have 2 lights and it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And then camera wise, Canon R8, I'm trying to work up to getting 2 different bodies or 3 different bodies. One that's specifically for photos and then another one specifically for video.
Do you have a piece of gear that you're looking at specifically or?
Yeah, I have I wanted something that for video, I wanted something that did 12-bit RAW. I don't even know if my computer can handle it, but eventually I'll upgrade it to that. I want to get something that's like, that is the setup and I don't need to upgrade for another 10 years. So I was looking at the R5C and then the R5 II to have as a pair because quality wise, there's really no getting better than that for a long time. And they're not super expensive. They're really expensive for anyone who's asking you what it costs and they're like regular person, Yeah. But for me, it's like, it's only a little bit more than what the R8 is. So I was looking at just the R5 versus the R5 II because it was, I think it's the exact same quality. I don't think there's that big of a difference because they both do 12-bit RAW. And I think they're both 45 megapixel photos.
Yeah.
So I was thinking R5 and R5C and then just getting a crap ton of batteries because apparently they die really fast. I don't know, but
I mean,
that's what V-mounts are
when
for.
I was shooting on the Canon when I finally got back to mirrorless on the Canon aspect, I briefly had the R6 Mark II, and they were still using the old DSLR batteries, the LPE6. They switched one letter, so it was like the LPE6N. Yeah, which I don't exactly know what that standard for, but apparently it made the batteries last longer. So,
well, I know the R5C 8-through batteries, but people are using it for heavy duty productions because it was a cinema camera.
Yeah.
And recently, when the R5 II and the C50 came out, they also came out with new batteries as well.
Yeah.
So it's like LPE6P or something, and it's supposed to get 50% more power or longevity or whatever.
Okay.
So who knows how long those are going to last, but
yeah, batteries have always been kind of like a strange thing to me because like even shooting on old DSLRs, like I feel like those batteries, they lasted forever.
Oh yeah.
But again, we weren't using them for, super heavy,
that's true,
codecs for, shooting high frame rates or high res video.
Also,
formats.
the viewfinder is a digital viewfinder on the mirrorless. Yeah, so that's using more battery.
And you're getting better color representation. And then what the eye sees.
Yeah, when I was doing a series of 5 and 10Ks, and I had my wife be my second shooter, and she was using my DSLR while I was using the mirrorless. Okay. We were both shooting photos, and I ran through like 2 batteries, 3 batteries, and she was still, 70% on the first battery.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
That just blows my mind. Yeah. And that's kind of what I miss about like older cameras like the 6D Mark II or even the 5D Mark III was I could run on a single battery all day. And
you don't spend another $300 on just a few more batteries.
But again, on those bodies, like the video you're shooting is only 1080p video. Yeah. Sometimes even 720p. Depending on what the platform you're uploading called for. So, all right. So let's talk about some stories. What would you say? I know you've done video and you've done photo stuff. What would you classify as like not necessarily like the craziest, but like the coolest or wildest spot you've done like photos or video stuff for?
Let's see. I've gone to stadiums to do some football stuff. I'm about to do a bunch more football stuff, filming and everything. So I'll be going to like, Dallas Star Stadium or Dallas Cowboys, Stadium. And then other places as well.
Is that the place over in Arlington or is that the Star over in Frisco?
I think it's the one in Frisco. I believe it's that one. I don't know for sure yet. We haven't gone yet, but that one's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that'll be exciting.
But I take my camera everywhere to do photo shoots for YouTube as well as just clients and stuff. So I've bowling alleys. I've done arcades, and those places people constantly are giving me weird looks because I have a whole camera. There's one time a family came up to me and they're like, "Hey, what are you shooting on?" He wants to get into photography. I was like, "Well, he's just getting in photography. You don't want this." And they're like, "Oh, what? Why?" And I was like, "Well, this is like a almost $3,000 setup." And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's bad. I don't want to do that."
Back to the like, it looks simple, but they see the price.
Yep. And then I was like, if you want to get into photography, get a DSLR. You can get a relatively newer DSLR if you wanted to, or even like the 5D DSLRs for Canon are super cheap now, and those were like top of the line stuff.
Yeah, and you can still find like the 5D Mark II, the 5D Mark III. Like you can find a 5D Mark II with like a 24-70 or 70-200 for like under $900 easily.
And that's ridiculous.
Considering really that would have cost you like $5-6 grand back in when you were buying it new.
Yeah, comparing it to the R5, which is $5 or $6 grand, or the R5 II now, but you can find the R5 for $2,500.
Yeah, that's, I don't know. Like, I think the whole aspect of like pricing the way cameras have gone is just, it's been crazy. Especially like when even like holiday season, right now it's the holiday season. So the Black Friday sales for camera platforms and stuff like that, you're getting, 10 years ago, you would have been getting like 30, 40% off, and you would have been getting steals on a camera body. Like the only reason I switched to the A7R2 from the A7 II was because I got a Black Friday deal.
Mm-hmm.
It was like 40% off the camera body, which was like $1,700, and I got it for like I think $825 after tax.
Yeah, that's crazy because even the R8 is only going for like $1,000 now, and I think originally it's like $1,500.
Yeah,
so that's only $500 off of it.
Yeah, that's I don't know. Like I was looking for Black Friday deals because I was getting ready to order some parts for a camera rig, and they were doing like 10, 15, 20%. 20% is the max I've ever seen. So I think the deals years ago were way better than they are now. But I guess, maybe companies aren't making as much as they were, 10 years ago.
Which also with mirrorless, there's a lot more technical stuff happening on the inside of it.
Yeah.
So the companies are spending a lot more money putting those things together. So you got to spend more money getting it, especially with, tariffs and shortages of chips and stuff like that. I know there was a specific, I don't know what camera, but there was a chip that was in a camera and there was a whole chip shortage. So that camera got a lot more expensive because of said chip shortage.
Yeah.
So.
The whole tariff thing really, I don't know. I wouldn't say it super greatly impacted a lot of the, electronics aspects of things, but it did kind of slow down production of a lot of stuff because a lot of people had to reevaluate where the money was going that was being spent to, turn these things around.
Mm-hmm. So everyone had to wait forever to get a lot of things.
Yeah.
I think that, I don't know how it affected the Canon, like the new Canon battery, the one I was talking about earlier, that one took forever to get in stock for people to buy it. I don't know why, but it just something was short and they couldn't make it fast enough. Or just everyone wanted a bunch of them, so everyone was ordering a crap ton of them.
That is true.
Because they were supposed to be 50% better battery life, so everyone was like, oh, I need that because my camera sucks battery.
That kind of goes to the whole, fear of missing out. FOMO is like, if you don't do it right then and there, you're going to miss out and you're not ever going to be able to get it because they're never going to be on sale again or they're going to be twice as expensive.
Which the same thing goes for the cameras. Everyone thinks the new next camera that comes out is going to blow all the old stuff out of the water. But
you'll see Nikon killer of the FX3 or... Yeah. It's like,
most people don't shoot anything over 4K anyways. It's not going to really
just buy what you can afford within your means and that you can efficiently use. You don't have to buy the next greatest best thing because at the end of the day, what you're shooting on a platform, whatever camera body, lens, system, if you're trying to replicate somebody else's image, you're taking away from your own individuality.
Yeah.
Of trying to replicate what somebody else is doing. And granted, spending that money might be able to get you that good creative look that you're after. But you need to decide, is it worth, spending that money to replicate whatever look you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
Versus where you could spend less money. I actually made a video about this the other day where I was talking about being a gearhead. You always want to buy the next greatest best thing or you're constantly adding stuff to your equipment.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it ever enough? Is it really ever enough?
Yeah. Everyone's chasing the next most resolution camera. And really, you benefit a lot more if you just, right now is probably the best time to buy, let's say like the R5 or the R6 Mark II or the R5C, because those are all going down in price tremendously. And the quality really isn't that different from the next line of stuff. Like I said earlier, the R5 II and the R5, I think, are the same image quality. It's just like the record limit got done away with in the second one, and then it's just better autofocus and, some stuff is moved around, I think. And I don't know for sure, but that's all I could tell from whenever I'm starting to look into a camera.
Yeah. So real quick, let's go over a couple of more topics here that I got. Do you have, you said you've done a lot of events and stuff like that. Have you ever had a shoot go wrong or you felt that went wrong, but you went back and you were doing like post-processing, like editing stuff, and you were kind of like surprised, like, oh, this turned out better than I actually thought it was going to be.
Yeah, there was, especially when I first started with the mirrorless stuff, I didn't know anything about, I was still learning the camera, and I couldn't, I didn't know how to turn on the histogram and stuff like that. So there was like, it was a 50-50 chance whether it was going to work. And there was one shoot I did that was like, I just learned all the settings and everything. I was still learning the limits of the camera. And it was a really high contrast situation, just a photo shoot. And I was like, this looks kind of horrible. I don't know if this is going to work, but I just went with it because I didn't want to tell my client, like, yeah, I don't know if this is going to work out. So I just went with it, tried to keep it all in the middle of the histogram and everything, try not to lose any information. And when I was in editing, I was bringing the highlights back down, the shadows back up. And that's when I realized, like, wow, this is a lot of dynamic range.
Yeah.
My other camera could not do this. But it's the Canon R8 really surprised me specifically just because of how much I spent on it and how well it stacks up against, like I said, all the higher up cameras.
That's awesome. Sorry, I'm trying to get back to.
No, you're good. Yeah,
I have stuff going on over here. So, here was another something like I personally wanted to know. As a creative, what do you do? Like, not necessarily like mindset wise, but like have you ever hit like the point where like you just lose like that creative drive to create, or like you lose inspiration for something? Like how do you relight that fire?
I don't think I've ever really lost the drive to do stuff. I have hit situations where it's like, I don't know what to make. I don't know what to take pictures of. And it is really tough, and it kind of hurts. Like I have this, I guess, irrational fear of I could never recreate what I've made before. And it was like, I just got lucky.
Yeah.
So I'm always like looking into how I did this before, make sure I can remember how I did it. So I haven't really run into a situation where like I've lost the drive, because I've always just been constantly headfirst into doing stuff,
Yeah.
And whenever I hit the point where I don't know what to make, I'm just sitting around and it's just blank, I would always try to maybe like look at another creator style. Like, there's like the light and moody, the high contrast, the, faded blacks, or like car photography, sports photography, stuff like that, And I would go in a completely opposite direction of what I normally do, and try a new technique or something like that. And that would pretty much just restart all the ideas, the idea machine or whatever.
Yeah. I think like, especially, YouTube being as available as it is now, you have so many creators out there where you have all these opportunities for gaining inspiration from other creators that might have a little bit better knowledge than you. But there's also creators that just have that natural knack for picking something up, and it's phenomenal, like right out of the gate.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say it's discouraging, but I know a lot of people struggle with that aspect of, well, I've been doing this for X amount of years, and this person just started 2 weeks ago, and their stuff is 10 times better than mine. And I think that boils down into like the comprehension of knowing the gear, how to utilize what you have the best. And I see on forums all the time people wanting to get into photography, videography, and they're always like, what's the best camera? I have like $4,000 budget. And I'm sitting here going, well, you don't necessarily need to spend $4,000 on a camera, because, if I were to talk to myself and tell myself what I know now, it'd be like, take what you can afford without, hurting yourself, putting yourself in like a financial situation. Start simple, learn that in and out, and perfect that craft.
Yeah.
Because 5 years down the road, when you're ready to upgrade, your work is going to be 10 times better than it was on that simple platform. And when you have the resources to upgrade to something more advanced, it's only going to increase the production value of whatever it is you're putting out.
You know, I know so many people who have like $5,000 setups, you know, the most expensive lens, a super expensive camera, and they take photos and they don't know anything about composition or anything like that. Yeah. They just started, which is, it's fine. You gotta, you know,
but you have to start somewhere.
Yeah, you have to start somewhere. But then they start taking photos and then they, what's the word? Like, you know, those photographers who are like, I don't like editing because I want it to look real.
Yeah.
And then
you take all the realism aspect out of the photo.
And then they like don't want to touch it, but then they're like, why does it not look as good as this person who went in and touched up every single color, threw colors in the shadows and everything? It's like, well, that's because you're too scared to actually do anything with the photo.
Yeah.
Lots of times
it might not necessarily even be that they're scared. I know from experience dealing with some other people that I worked with, it could be due to like, you know, financial resources or the software, you know. If you're working off like older systems and stuff, some of these computers don't run the programs that are available now. There are, again, substitutions, and I know on your channel, you've talked about some substitutions for like photo and video editing that are not financial burdens to people who can't afford monthly subscriptions. So, and again, like I even started off using some of those Freebase software platforms.
Yeah. And then as soon as DaVinci Resolve came out with like the full editor and everything for free, and then just sort of like added the, you know, more enhanced features for the paid version, I was like, oh, you know, that's when I got into color grading, and then Final Cut Pro is not the best for color grading just because it's just not built for it. Yeah. It has a little tiny panel. You can't go in and do specific things and all of that. So I was color grading and I was like, this is like, I could throw a LUT on there and that's about it. And adjust exposure. And so I switched to DaVinci Resolve. I was like, whoa, this is ridiculous. This is there's a whole page dedicated just to the color. And it was just it was just eye opening, you know? Yeah. It was very nice being able to mask out specific colors, go and do have the whole color curves and have it blown up and, you know, fine detail where you want it to be and everything, instead of just like a tiny corner. You couldn't like blow it up at all. And
I think like going back into what you were saying about, you know, asking the question about like the figure of, you know, not touching the photo, you know, people think like when it comes to editing photos, it takes all this knowledge that you got to learn how to do stuff. But really all editing a photo comes down to is like when you have all those sliders and dials, it's trial and error. You play with the image and manipulate it to figure out how far you can push an image, how far you can adjust the contrast, the saturation, you know.
And when it comes down to it, it really, like, if you like the photo, it looks good to you, then it looks good.
And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about the photo. If they want to give you constructive criticism, you know, let them. But at the end of the day, it's not their photo. It is yours. Exactly. And if you're proud of your work, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I've had plenty of people say like, "Oh, that highlight's blown out. It's not good anymore." But there's a whole genre of people who take photos and blow out the whole photo, and people love it. Yeah. Or even if you look at movies, which is how I kind of go about learning styles and stuff for my own photos, because they have a whole colorist just designing the colors for the whole movie, and then they have a bunch of people like the directors. Some directors love to blow out the highlights. Some love to really not blow out the highlights, you know? Because
it allows the subject to maintain the focus point of, you know, the scene rather than looking around the surroundings of what's going on.
Yeah, so like there are rules, but they're more like guidelines. You can't you can break whatever rule you want. I think it's just important to understand why the rule's there. And then when you decide to break it, it makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. So we got a couple more sections I want to cover, and then I guess we're going to wrap this episode up. So Let's talk business clients and just other general stuff about photography, videography, what it is to be an entrepreneur or a small business. So what's something you wish your clients understood or maybe better comprehended about what goes into what it is you do?
I think the number one thing that's really misunderstood from people that want photos taken is they don't understand why it costs so much to do a photo session.
Yeah.
Because they're thinking like, oh, it's an hour of your time and then maybe another 30 minutes or an hour of editing, so like 2 hours.
A lot of people think you're just clicking a button.
Yeah. I was like, why am I paying you $500 when I could just like, if you're working hourly, you'd be making like $40. Absolutely. It's like, well, first of all, I spent like $3,000 on the whole setup.
Yeah.
And I'm in debt right now, so I kind of need to pay it off, and I have bills to pay. And then it's not only like the fact that I have to spend hours editing your photo, as well as gas money to get to the place, and time driving and time taking the photos and everything. I had to spend a lot of time learning color theory and learning how to use the camera.
They're basically paying not necessarily for your equipment, but they're paying for your time and experience.
Yeah, time, experience. And like, if you go to school to become a doctor or become anything, you're expecting to get a good hourly pay. Yeah. Because you spent money to go to school and everything.
You spent years and hours.
Yeah. And you're if someone wants to pay you $15 an hour to do something you went to school to learn, you're going to be pissed off about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like,
I would agree.
I spent the better portion, like last third of my teenage years and all of my adult life learning all the science behind all this stuff and then spending a lot of my own money to get the gear. So I've put the work in, and it's the images I think speak for themselves, but it's like, you could understand it a little bit more, like.
I think like watching you start from like where you did and to what you can do now, night and day. Like once I saw like where you started really studying into like, color grading and S curves and highlights, saturation, shadows, being able to manipulate that stuff and really understanding how it affects the image before it falls apart really changed the dynamic of your work. So
yeah, I feel like when it comes to video, I kind of think of it like lasagna, So like the color,
layers.
The color grading is the cheese, and the cheese is a very important part. It's not like the meat of the meal, like you go without it, but like who's eating lasagna without cheese?
Cheese is definitely what holds everything together.
Yeah, so it's the cheese, it's the the video, the noodles, and then the audio, sound effects, music, collecting the audio of what's actually happening. You need all of it. I mean, you could eat just noodles with meat, but
yeah, I would agree.
You could have cheese. Why not? You can never have too much cheese.
That is true. So, do you have a hard time dealing with, like, what's your process like if you're dealing with a client or somebody unfamiliar with what goes on behind the scenes? How do you deal with unrealistic like standards or expectations for like, what they want to be delivered versus like turnaround time?
I don't actually have a lot of clients who have unrealistic expectations.
Well, I mean, that's good.
Yeah, I know. I got really lucky.
Yeah. You'll run into them eventually at some point.
Lots of times client will... there was one client, they were saying, hey, I want headshots. I'm like, just regular headshots? And like, yeah. Okay. So I did the headshots and they didn't like them. I'm like, okay, well, if you wanted like a specific look, you should have told me.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I think that really like boils down to like, so like when you first get in contact with like a potential client, do you guys discuss, I wouldn't say necessarily like if it's like commercial, of course, you guys are going to cover like an NDA if there's like a non-disclosure agreement. Yeah. But do you have like a contract or anything that kind of like goes over an itinerary of what they should expect?
My wife handles all the contract stuff, so I'm not good at that.
So she's the logistics aspect.
She's the logistics, yeah. So she's the one who like puts the contract together. But first thing I do, especially if it's a video, If a client wants like full video stuff, I go up to them and I'm like, look, minimum, it's going to be $300. Because like, if you just want me to film what you're doing and then make a little montage of it, it doesn't take very long for me to do it. Unless it's like a lot of driving, and then I'll add to it. But I'll go get with them and like, what do you want? Like, are you wanting just a montage of you doing something, or do you want like animations, or do you want, is it a whole story driven piece?
Yeah.
And that's when I'll figure out what they're wanting and like what they're wanting it to look like.
Yeah.
If it's like light and airy, or if it's, you want like a, 2007 Transformers movie color grading
and a lot
style.
of people now that are doing like content creation, especially for like short form content for like social media platforms. I mean, for me, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think a lot of what drives social media short form content is the effects that AI offers and the transition aspects of, syncing your audio to what's going on in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to add specific transition effects. And even recently, me and you did a project together where you started doing sound staging, where you're adding sound effects that weren't originally in the video files, which add, a next level of dynamic to the video production value.
Yeah. The sound is a really important part, I would say. It's, if you take it before and after adding sound effects, especially because a lot of times you can't get all the sounds you want when you're filming, because it's either the microphone's stuck to your camera, you're not able to use the microphone, or, something happens to the microphone and you don't get everything. It's very, very good to have a little library of sounds that, like, just generic sounds that you could throw over anything, and that saved my butt a lot, and it's very, I've had clients that I've done just like a base edit, like, hey, there's a rough cut of like what it looks like and everything. The color grade looks good. And then I throw the sound effects on there and they see it with the sound effects. You're like, why is it so much better? It's like, it's because I'm using 2 of your senses now instead of just 1 of them.
Yep. Visual and audio. So, let's talk pricing. Now, I think that's one of the biggest things a lot of people have questions about when it comes to starting like a business. If you're doing like photography, videography, anything like that, people I see on forums all the time are talking to other people about what should I price or how should I quote somebody. And, ultimately, I know this could be bad advice, but I would always tell people, you can get a ballpark number based on, what people think you should charge, but don't undersell yourself to sell yourself short. So you're working more than what you're making.
Yeah. I've always been told to shoot for a no.
Yeah. Yeah. No's are typically more important than, taking a job where you're only making like $50.
Yeah.
Because I see that's the biggest thing for me is like I see social platforms where, looking for a photographer, hiring a videographer, and all these people are jumping at $50 jobs.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's great. I'm not knocking those people, but how are you going
to survive?
How are you going to survive on that one? But how much time and effort are you putting into those $50 jobs? And is at the end of the day, is it really worth it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's kind of a balancing act with that. Cause it's also like, I've worked for free. I've worked I've done a gig just for a sweatshirt.
Yeah.
I've done a bunch of stuff. And when I first started out, I was like, if I'm going to like take off a day of work and do this instead, I need to make at least as much as a day of work,
Yeah.
So my first time of setting up prices was just, this is how much I'd make as a day of work, and then this is technically a day of videography stuff, and or photography, and I would just move it over, and then as I got better, I would add to it and figure out how much I want to charge people, because you could be worth $1,000 for your whole everything, for a whole days of shooting or whatever. But if people aren't accepting that, then you're not making that anyways.
Yeah.
So
and your time is money.
Yeah.
Basically. Like you need to value not necessarily like you're not charging people for the gear, all the fancy stuff you have. Sure, that plays a factor, but your time is more valuable than anything. And
Yeah.
you need to be charging people for your skills plus your time.
Yeah. And then, I mean, also at the same time, you need to build a portfolio as well.
Yeah.
So if you don't have a portfolio yet,
Having a portfolio is huge.
yeah, because I've gotten gigs just because of a photo I posted on Instagram, you know, and all my photos on there.
And you do a little bit of everything. So like sports, marketing, branding.
Yeah, I was, I'm like, when I was building my portfolio, I was like, I need a little bit of a bunch of stuff. So I just took whatever anyone gave me. I had my baseline price. Like, hey, I'm not gonna go lower than this. But sometimes I was like, well, you know, there's one person I did. It was just like a sweatshirt, and he was like, I'll give you a free sweatshirt. And I was like, I mean, it was only like 5 photos, you know, so. Yeah. Gave me the sweatshirt.
You know,
took
at the
photos.
end of the day, exposure is exposure.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more eyes on your images that are potentially clicking on your
exposure
profile.
is worth a lot.
Yeah.
And if you're always getting exposure, then you just need to find your client.
Yeah.
Because once you build your portfolio, I would say, like, if someone else is, like, if you're saying this is my price and someone says, I don't want to pay that price, how about I just give you exposure, or I'll give you some merch or something, I wouldn't take that. Yeah. But if you're coming out the gate like, hey, I'm going to let you do this for, like, I'll do this gig for you in exchange for some food or for a sweatshirt, then I would say that's an appropriate situation. I don't know about you,
but I'll work for food any day of the week.
I just don't like the idea of saying, hey, this is my price, and then the client saying, no, I'm just going to give you this instead.
Yeah.
That just hurts me.
It's not. It's like it wasn't up for debate. It's one or the other. Like,
it's whenever I'm feeling like trading my work for a product is when I'm feeling like doing that. Yeah. And I don't like it when
it's on your terms. It's not theirs.
Yeah. I just don't like it when they try to force it on you.
You came to me for my expertise. So it's going to go one of two ways.
I don't need any new photos right now, and I need money. So I'm going to go and look for my ideal client somewhere else.
Yeah. Granted, free shit is nice, but at the end of the day, it's not putting food on the table. And
you can't give free shit to a landlord. They won't take that. I tried. It doesn't work that way. Yeah. They actually get really mad when you try that.
So, I mean, really, that's all great advice. If you were to give advice, I think we kind of covered that, but if you were to give advice for somebody looking to get into trying to figure out how to price, or maybe not even putting value is the wrong word, but how to put value to what it is they're offering somebody, what kind of advice would you give to that person?
It depends on your skill level first. Well, because
okay, so let's just start from like a basic, somebody that's 2 to 8 months in, just kind of still trying to get their foot in the door. Yeah. They have a general portfolio of just maybe like family pictures or maternity or anything like that. So okay, let me rephrase this. What is something you wish you knew that you didn't know then that you would be able to pass on to somebody else that would help them kind of gauge where their
where their base pricing should be?
Yeah, because you don't want to undersell yourself, and you don't want to shoot yourself in the foot for charging less and working more. Yeah. So what kind of stuff would you?
If you have like a job, like your, day job or whatever, I would say it definitely can't be less than what you would make in a day of working your day job for the gig.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's like the bare minimum. I would usually shoot for like this one gig will pay for my week's worth of stuff. Cause right now I get like maybe 1 to 2 gigs a week. And so it'd be nice to be able, like, I'm still in the middle of weeding out my last job. Yeah. Getting there, but it's taken a while.
And I went from running a full-time business 7 days a week for several years to, slowly transitioning back to working a full 9-to-5 job, and now trying to balance, media production and 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So,
And it's tough, 9 to 5 and doing media stuff. Cause I recently started doing TikTok as well.
Yeah.
Just because I saw how much money you can make on TikTok. It's about the same as YouTube, honestly. Or it gets close. So doing a TikTok channel and then doing a YouTube channel and then doing photo gigs and video gigs for clients and stuff. It's, and then, full-time or not full-time anymore. It's like probably do like 20 to 30 hours of my actual job. So trying to weed that out, it's tough trying to do all of it because you have to plan your videos and keep it consistent with TikTok and YouTube.
Yeah.
And then also you still have to get paid, and I don't get that much money from TikTok or YouTube.
Yeah.
So like it's tough trying to do all of that on top of having a family as well.
Yeah. Whether it be photo, video related, what kind of feeling or what kind of mood or feeling are you trying to invoke from your viewer, I guess? Like, do you have a specific theme or like style you gravitate towards?
I do have I really like the whole high contrast look. So like think like Transformers, like the 2007 Transformers movie. You know, it's super early 2000s action movie, basically. I've always loved the high contrast look of it. A lot of people nowadays don't like it, so it's really annoying when I post something like, "Why is there black parts in your photo?" It's like, well, I'm not an light and airy photographer. I'm
not
like
doing this for you.
You look at the scopes; there's stuff at the bottom, there's stuff at the top, and everything in between.
Yeah,
I like to have the whites and blacks where they white and black.
Yeah.
Of course, I will change it up. I like doing a bunch of different types of styles and everything. On my YouTube channel, I kind of just go with how I feel about it. Like if I want it to feel intense, I'll go high contrast and saturation and everything. But a lot of times if I'm doing just like a daily vlog or something like that, and I don't need it to feel intense, I'll do like, the faded blacks and the lower contrast and everything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of just whatever, like if I'm doing a series of photos or if I'm doing a video that is like a YouTube video or a film for somebody, then I start with how do I feel and how do I want people to feel whenever they watch it or look at it.
How do you want this image to project?
Yeah, because like high contrast and low contrast give off two completely different feelings.
Absolutely. For sure.
I mean, you can make it work with different genres. Like the faded blacks and low contrast work with a lot of stuff, but it just really depends on how I feel and how I want people to feel.
Yeah.
And I'll base everything else around that, like music and everything.
Yeah. So like what would you classify that, like, if you were to like categorize that as
like the most of the stuff I do, I would say contrasty is what I would do. Pretty much everything I make is I'll generally stick to more contrasty looks, clean.
So like film oriented, not necessarily cinematic, because honestly, I hate when people use that word cinematic.
Yeah.
It's thrown around so much.
Yeah, it's tough because like there's not really another word to explain it better.
Well, I think when the whole, I don't know where this originated from, but I think a lot of younger generation, I'm not throwing you under the bus, but a lot of the younger generation started throwing around the word cinematic.
Yeah.
Because they were trying to chase, again, they were seeing what other people were putting out. And these content creators were creating these cinematic deals, which at the time they were and they are. But then all these other people started throwing around this word cinematic. And it's like, it becomes convoluted.
It's a trigger word now. Yeah. It's like people,
it's overused.
Like it or not, it still gets views too. You go to YouTube and you say, "Hey, how I made this cinematic," or "I made one how to get cinematic video with the Canon R8." It's always going to get views.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you're making a video about. If you put cinematic on there, it's going to boost the views at least a little bit. So it just boils down to people are trying to get views and they're willing to do whatever, whether it's cringy or not.
Yeah,
and I mean, cinematic is just looks like a movie, really, I think is the description of it or something.
I mean, if if I were to put a category label on it, I would say it would be like film oriented.
Yeah, like whatever blockbuster movie is at the time.
Because again, like if you guys ever get a chance to check out his work, it'll explain what I'm gonna say, but the way you add like the faded colors and the contrast and all those other things, it gives it a very film oriented look, where it's not necessarily you would see something in the movies, but it invokes this, not necessarily like a little bit of dreamy and like, what's the word? I don't know, like steampunkish.
Steampunk.
I don't know if that's probably not the right word.
I'll
but
accept that. I like steampunk.
It's a very
like action movie.
Yeah, it's
like
very
whenever I'm learning new techniques and stuff, I always gravitate towards movies. I've always loved movies. So I take those techniques and apply them to everything I do, even photos.
Yeah.
So, which is why it kind of gives off like an otherworldly look, because movies are lit and color graded and everything to be otherworldly and better than real life.
Yeah.
Because
otherworldly is kind of like the
just better than real life is what it's supposed to look like.
It gives it that dreamy look.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, I want to thank you for joining me on this pilot episode of The Verge.
Yeah.
It's been awesome getting to chat with you and get to know more about your creative side and kind of like where you started as a foundation and then where you are now. And
it was a lot of
hopefully
fun.
that just continues to keep growing.
Yeah. So, I'm a very talkative person. Whenever you put if the topic is like skateboarding, cars or movies or filming or photography, I will talk forever. So
Isaiah, again, thank you for joining me here. I'm going to put Isaiah's socials down in the description. So if you guys want to check that out, if you want to go ahead and shout out your socials, I can put them up here on the screen somewhere.
I don't remember what my Instagram is. It's Isaiah Wehrmann _photography, and then my YouTube channel is just Isaiah Wehrmann.
So yeah, they're going to be up here on the screen somewhere, and they will be down in the description as well. So if you guys want to go over there, go shoot him a follow, subscribe to his channel. He does a lot of stuff that he covers, photo editing, tutorials, color grading.
Mostly, recently it's been a lot of technique and gear stuff.
Okay.
I like to do short films every now and then, like with buddies and stuff like that. But everyone has jobs now, so it's kind of hard to do it all the time.
The job is important.
Yeah. So.
All right, guys. Well, I want to, again, thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them down below. If you have anything for Isaiah, shoot him a message on Instagram. I'm sure he'd love to chat with you guys. And with that being said, see you next time.